the whole thing, and in the future you'll have one person build everything. And I think that's what's going to happen. I already believe it's happening, and like we're on the forefront of it. Like give it 5 years, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Did you see that Leviathan teaser trailer? That was done by a few people. Not a few, like there's like a dozen people, which is not that many. Did you see that TIE Fighter anime, Caitlin?
Yeah, that's pretty.
That was done by 3 people. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm trying to get at. Like
leads right now is me and John. So.
Yeah, it's you and John, exactly. And so, what I'm trying to say is that maybe you won't get a job as a concept artist because you'll be too busy making and selling your own games, or making or selling your own films, or whatever it may be that you want to do, or making or selling your own comic book, or whatever it is that you want to do, whatever you're inspired by.
Is this way of painting better for learning right anatomy and gesture drawing? What about line drawing?
Like the way that I'm painting?
Yeah.
No, this is advanced. Don't even worry about it, man. Like, stay away from just blocking it out. Unless you really like it, then you have to do a lot of anatomy studies, a lot of practice. This took me like several years to really be okay at it. You know, there's people that are even better than me at this type of painting style.
I'm an associate artist at a studio. I actually
Cool.
sit right behind Marco Neller,
Haha, Marco, he's a good friend of mine.
who I know you met on your trip to Colombia months back. I'm nearing the end of my contract. I've made an impression, and my coworkers and higher ups like me, but full-time positions are extremely limited, and I doubt my chances of getting hired. I'm working on my portfolio, but I can't show work I've done here because our game isn't released yet. What are some tips for preparing your portfolio, applying at places, or ask about full-time during this phase? I'm worried about not having a job after my contract.
Just, you have to go to events, man. Go to events, meet people, show people, like even though you can't show people online your stuff, you can show people in physical locations. You can show them like iPad version of it, because they can't steal it, right? And especially if it's on a project that everybody knows being made, you know, they can't memorize the artwork. And there's kind of like a silent code amongst other professionals that you don't just do that stuff anyway. You don't steal people's shit like that. Like everybody kind of shows NBA stuff all the time, but you know, nobody really does it like in a very like public way. You know, you don't just go online and just post everything that you've done that's still under NDA, right? I did that recently. Yeah, I did that recently just because I felt like that company just was gone. And they're like, they reached out to me. They're like, no, we're still here. And I'm like, what? No, you're not.
We're dead.
Yeah, they're like, no, we're still here. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'm sorry. And so,
I'm sorry.
so even then, like nobody would know. Nobody knew what it was that I posted that was for a thing. If it was, I don't even think it's still for a thing. You know, nobody knows. Like when I took it down. Or nobody even recognized. They're just like, oh, what? Did he post more work? I don't know. And so, unless it's very clear, like you're working on Star Wars 7, and you like post like, look, this is the villain from Star Wars 7 that I worked on, and everyone's like, what? that might get you in some serious trouble. But yeah, but if you're doing something that people won't necessarily even recognize, I don't think it's too bad of a deal to post it, not post it online, but just show people on your iPad, you know?
If an art director asks for an environment or a character, what should be expected to be delivered before the final, and how long should it take?
It all depends.
Caleb?
It all depends, doesn't it? I mean, I feel like every studio is different.
Truth.
It really depends on the project, like whether it's like a realistic project, maybe it's a cartoony project, or is it like film, is it game? I mean, everyone's pretty different. I would just understand the deadline and just make sure you finish the deadline.
Yeah.
Personally, like.
I have a terrible habit of starting a painting, working on it for a few minutes, and then deleting it over and over again. I know it sounds silly. Any tips for committing to a painting?
Yeah, stop doing that. you said you answered your own question in your question. I have a bad habit where I start painting, then stop doing that. Just like stop. Force yourself to finish the painting. Force yourself to go to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. You're just afraid that it's going to suck. Let me tell you right now, it's going to suck. Okay? But you don't know how much faster you can run a race until you finish the race and get the time. Right? If you run a mile and you only went, like you run 1 mile and you stop halfway through, you never know how fast you can really run a mile or how slow. But if you run a mile and it took you 7 minutes, which is relatively fast, then you could be like, okay, 7 minutes. What can I do to improve it? And then you run another mile, like maybe a month later, and now you're running 6:50. So you see you got 10 seconds faster. So whatever you did was working. You do it again a month later. Now maybe you're back, you're still at 6:50. So whatever you did during that month didn't work entirely well. So figure it out, right? And you just keep doing that. Years later, you're running 4-minute miles, 3-minute miles, right? But if you're at this place where you just never start, that is another form of procrastination. You are procrastinating. And so do not be like, I'm always drawing, but I never finish it. No, that's procrastination. Everybody can do that. Do something that people can't do. Do something that people know is hard and they can't accomplish it because they get sick to their stomach because it hurts to try to do it. That hurt is what's going to push you to the next level, man. Let's do it, man. You know, why people, like, since we're on a gaming stream, you know, like, why people tend to find a lot of, like, you know, solace in playing video games is because the video games give you a quest and then they give you a reward, and it's clear. But if you play video games long enough, you know, like a game like World of Warcraft, for example, simple quests can lead into bigger quests, and bigger quests lead into even bigger, more epic quests. But the next thing you know, like 5 to 10 minutes of just casually gaming goes from 5 to 6 hours of hardcore gaming. The next thing you know, you spent 20 hours a week playing a video game, 60 hours a week playing a video game. You're working hard and you don't even know it. You're getting better at the game and you don't even know why. It's because you're working really hard. But the way the game is structured so you don't even see that you're working hard. And so when you switch that and put it to real life application, to something like art or programming or whatever it is you want to be better at, you will see the same kinds of results yielded. You'll see that you'll progress in your art. You'll see that you'll progress in whatever field it is that you want to get good at. When I was trying to learn Unreal, people say, how did you learn it? Like, what did you do? I worked really hard. I studied really hard. I spent like 3 or 4 months like in Unreal every day trying to figure out something new. You know? I didn't start hardcore. I wasn't like, okay, I'm just going to make a game. I was just like, how do I make a box move? How do I even bring a box into Unreal? How do I like turn this switch on? How do I turn it off? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I just kept on asking myself easy questions that I could answer. And it just went from there. You know, I feel like everybody's trying to be a rock star in the very beginning, but you don't play World of Warcraft for 5 minutes and become level 90, right? Or level 100 or whatever they're at now. You know, you play for thousands of hours to get to that level, right? Well, not anymore, but back in the day, yeah, right? And so, like, you know, I was talking to one of my students in the class, and he was telling me that he's like a platinum, right? He's a platinum level player. And I already knew just from that, he spent thousands of hours playing the game. I was like, you probably played around like 1,000 to 1,200 games? And he's like, yeah, that's about right. Because most people who reach platinum play at least 1,000 to 1,200 games. That's just a fact, you know? It's like, if you want to be a platinum player, you're going to end up playing 1,200 games. There's nothing you can do outside of that, right? And so, like, if you look, you'll see that you'll play, like, so many games. And, like, for me, I'm not platinum. I've only played, like, 400 games, and most of those games are ARAM, right? And that's, like, I'm not even trying to get good at that game. And so, you know, you find yourself playing a lot of games, and you're like, man, I love playing video games. It's because games give you the rewards, like, immediately. You see those rewards. And so because in art you don't feel that way, or whatever career path you choose, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's definitely there. All right, lightning round.
Told you.
Someone asking again about portfolios outside of the class?
No, we hardly do portfolio reviews outside of class, just because I have, like, my time is limited, and the time that I do have, I do invest in those who invested in me, you know, and that's kind of how we do it. If you send me stuff online, I might get to it. Like there is sometimes where I will see you and you catch me at the good time where I'm not doing anything. That's probably your best option outside of like trying to join a mentorship or joining the guild. But most likely, if you're in the mentorship, you will get your portfolio reviewed as many times as you need it to be. You just gotta let me know, because once you've invested in our school, we take a lot of pride in our involvement in our students' lives after class.
How do you handle creative crisis periods, crashing all the plans and schedule if you are having them?
You just gotta do it, man. It happens all the time. It happened to me recently. You just gotta do it. That's when you know. That's when you find out who you are. You know, the kind of person you are. Are you a really, really hard worker, no matter what? Or are you the kind of person that lets little things or big things get in your way and really derail you? I mean, there's been big things that happened in my life, real big crises, and I still found a way out of them. You know? I'm sure, Kaylin, you have similar situations.
What was the question?
Yeah, Kaylin's playing Evolve.
No, I'm not playing Evolve. I just didn't hear the question.
Creative crisis.
A crisis?
Yeah.
What about a crisis?
Do you
Like-
have creative crisis periods?
Oh, like have you had crisis periods?
Like when things are like happen to you, like you're like, oh my gosh, and it really got in your way of work.
Yeah. We can talk about that real quick. I mean, there's one time I was going through a divorce.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I
That was
moved
rough.
back to Spain for a girl that I was married to at the time, and I literally like paid like 6 months of the rent in Spain, and I could have stayed in Spain too. Like I had an opportunity, 'cause, like I had gotten laid off at the first company that I was at, and then another company offered me an art test, and then I did it, but I kind of half-assed it, and I was like, listen, just so you guys know, like you probably want to look at somebody else because I'm probably moving back home because of my wife. And so then I moved back, and then like the first night I got back, like it was really, really bad, right? Like I drove to her place and she was like, nope, too late, divorce. And I was just like,
I didn't know
what
that.
the fuck?
That's crazy.
So
Yeah,
I was,
you
like,
never-
I was in the worst position. AJ knows I was in like a really bad place.
Yeah, I've never seen
there
you
was-
drink
there
so
was a
much.
time where I
Like
was that
never
bad.
drink, and you drank like so much during that time, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I drank a lot. Like I started to drink a lot. I remember one time I was like literally like in that bathroom. Like I think I punched the thing. I was like crying. I was like, it was a bad place. But then like one day like AJ would help me through it and was just like, fuck it, let's go swimming. And that's actually how I got my job at ILM too, because I was still in that space where I just didn't want to do anything. I was just so over it. Like I was just so like distraught from like getting divorced, you know. And then AJ's like, we're going to Comic-Con, dude. And I was like, man, I don't want to go to Comic-Con. I don't want to be around people. And he's like, no, we're going. I'm dragging you. So he dragged me. He's like, we're gonna hang out with my friend Bobby Chu and all these people. I was like, all right, cool. I guess we'll go. So then I went, and then that's how I got my job at ILM, and then everything kind of just turned around like 180 ever since then. So I mean, crises will definitely happen. Like I feel like art is easy. I feel like life is hard. Like life shit is like way harder than art.
Yeah.
Like art is just you just keep doing it and you enjoy it. Like you'll keep doing it. Like you'll get better if you just keep working hard. But balancing life, like taking on life stuff, like, you know, that's kind of hard. Like I'm sure people here have had problems where like their parents get sick or their family, someone gets into a car accident. Like shit happens, man. And it's just having good friends around you to pick you up when real shit happens, you know, like it's having good friends, I would say, is definitely a good thing, and having friends that will really like get you out. Just like when AJ went through his stint with his girl that he was dating while he was in AI, and that was a rough time for him, and we were definitely there for him when that happened, and it was just like, you know, so crises happen, but it definitely is a test for what you're made out of. Like I could have easily gave up at that point. Like I didn't feel like I wasn't sure if I want to do art anymore. Like I was just like over it. But yeah, like it will pass. If I can say anything, it will always pass. Like it will get better. You just have to kind of endure it. Don't be a wuss.
Man up.
Or lightning
Don't be a
round.
wuss.
Light it up.
Hey boss, when you coming to Barcelona for a workshop and more
It's called
parties?
Barcelona.
I'm down, man. Maybe that's the next one we do.
AJ, are you going to color this piece? I would like to see the process in that. Love it.
Maybe. Depends. We'll see. We shall see.
Will this be available to watch on demand?
This video?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I
I think they
Twitch.
take it down after
Should be able to.
2 days.